I am so excited to introduce you to the Cobblestone Cowl. The Cobblestone Cowl is a fast and fun project. Using two colors, one a tonal and one a variegated, and working 2 rows at a time with each color, you will find yourself wanting to keep adding just one more row. Using the tonal as the main color gives you a classic look, but if you use the variegated as the main color, you will have a different look and feel, and that is a little bit more fun and colorful. Your options are absolutely endless. Let's get started. Okay, so before we get started, I want to show you what yarns and supplies you will need to make the Cobblestone Cowl. The first thing you're going to need is 2 hanks of fingering weight yarn. Now these are the leftovers from the original cowl that is in the pattern, but I wanted to show you the exact colors that I used. This is from Montana Crochet. This is color A. It is her Boulder colorway, and it is in her fingering weight sock yarn. And then color B is my variegated, which is lupine from Inner Yarn Zen. So this is color A, my solid. Color B is the variegated, and that's what I recommend if you want the look that you see in the picture on the front of the pattern. However, you could use the color A as your variegated and your solid as color B, and you'd get a totally different look. So it's up to you. I'm just going to go with solid as color A, variegated as color B. But if you decide to do it in the reverse, let me know, and I'd love to see a picture of how it turns out. Secondly, you're going to need a crochet hook, and I used a size E, which is a 3.5 millimeter hook to get the gauge. If you cannot get gauge with this hook, remember that the hook size that I use in my patterns is always a recommendation. It's not an absolute. So if you cannot get gauge with this particular hook, you go up or down a hook size to make it work for you. You'll also need a stitch marker if you have trouble finding the beginning of a round. I would recommend using one. This is just a one I got from a yarn shop, but you can use any stitch marker you want as long as it's a removable style. And I won't be using it in this video, but if you need one, definitely use it to mark the beginning of your round. You'll need a tapestry needle to weave in your ends, and for some reason I can't pick this up. There we go. I recommend using a metal tapestry needle with a bent tip to weave in ends. I don't recommend plastic because even today the plastics are molded and they tend to have rough edges that snag your yarn, and metal hooks or metal needles do not. So that's what I recommend. And you'll also need a pair of scissors to cut the yarn when you need to. Now, the one thing you'll have to remember about the scissors is that you won't need them until the very end when you're doing your last rounds. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so I am going to start with the end of row 1, which is 120 foundation single crochets. Now, if you've never done a foundation single crochet, make sure you check out the video that I have on how to make those. I didn't want to use the time that I have for this video explaining that, so I will leave it in the show notes, or if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see up in the corner I have a link to that video. So we're going to start with 120. I only did 40 here because I want a small sample to be able to show you. But the first thing you're going to do once you've got your 120 stitches is you're going to join with a slip stitch. So we're going to just flip it over and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the very first one that we made. And want to make sure that you're working on top of the rows, not on the bottom. Sometimes it takes a minute to find where you are going to need to do that slip stitch. So there we go. I found my spot and I am slip stitching there. Okay, so now we're going to start with row 2. Row 2 says to chain 3. You're not going to turn, but you're going to chain 3 and you're going to double crochet in each foundation stitch around. And then at the end of the row, you're going to switch to the contrasting color, which is color B. So we're going to just double crochet. So remember, the chain counts as the first stitch. So you're going to skip the chain that or the stitch that you did the slip stitch in. So here is the first one, and I'm just going to double crochet all the way around. I'm going to do a few here, and then when I am done with the round, I will come back and show you how to do row 3. There's a few right here. Okay, so there you go. So that's the start of round, I should say round, not row, round 2. And then when I come back, we'll start round 3. Okay, before we go on to row 3, I want to show you how I change colors for this particular pattern. Because I'm slip stitching on each round, I finish the last stitch. So normally I would change colors as I finished the last stitch, but in this case I am going to go ahead and finish the stitch with the same color that I used. But because I'm slip stitching at the top of the chain 3 here, I am going to insert my hook and drop the solid color, and then I'm picking up my contrasting color, which is color B, and I am going to just join with the slip stitch using that color. Now I kind of tighten things up as much as I can with both of these yarns to make sure that everything looks good. So now we're ready for round 3, and we're going to start with the chain 1, and then we're going to work in the back loop only for the entire round. And first you're going to single crochet in the same stitch as we did our slip stitch. So we're going to single crochet there, and then we're going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So we're going to start with this one, and we're going to work in the back loop. Now what that means is when you work in the back loop, you'll notice that a little ridge forms in the front, and I'm going to do a few stitches here to show you what is going to happen here really quick. Okay, so you'll notice right here in the front of the stitches we have this ridge happening. So we're going to do that for row 3 or round 3. We are going to work in the back loop only, and we're not going to change colors. When we get to round 4, you're going to single crochet in each stitch around again, starting with the same stitch that you slip stitched in, but you're going to work in both loops that time. So I'm going to do both of those rounds, and then I will come back with the video for the next steps. Okay, so I finished round 4, which was single crocheting in both loops. Now there's a couple things at the beginning of round 3 that I forgot to mention, so I'm going to mention them here. The first thing is that you are not going to cut the main color or color A. You're going to just leave it there for now. And then when you get to color B, when you finish round 3, when you do your slip stitch, you're going to slip stitch through both loops. So there's no extra little ridge right here. And then round 4, again, I worked in both loops, so you don't have a ridge, but you have a ridge underneath round 3. So now we're switching colors. And so we're going to drop color B, or the contrasting color, and you're just going to let that hang just like we did with the original color. And you're going to pull up color A, and you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch of that round with color B, or color A, I'm sorry, leaving color B hanging. Then we're going to chain 1, because the next round is where we're going to start getting those little drops that happen to give you that cobblestone look. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet through both loops of the first 2 stitches. So there's 1, and there's 2. And then stitch number 3 is a double crochet, and you're going to double crochet in the front loop of the double crochet 3 rows below. So that's why we left these bars here. These bars are so that we can do these double crochets in the right places. So for row 3, we don't have a bar there. You can see there's kind of a skip there. That is because we didn't have a stitch there. It was actually the chain 3 from row 2. So we're going to make sure we start there, and that's 1, 2, and the third stitch is where we do our double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to pull the loop through that front bar. You see how I brought the hook through? And then yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. So what you can see there, and the loop is a little big right now, but as you keep working, that loop will get smaller. So now we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches through both loops. So the one thing you have to remember is that double crochet counts as a stitch. So we want to make sure we skip the first purple stitch here, and we make our first single crochet in the, so here's the one we're skipping, here's the one we are going to single crochet in. So I'm gonna get my yarn back in order here. So I'm gonna single crochet in 1, 2, actually we're going to single crochet in the first 3, and then we're going to double crochet down 3 rows below. So we did 3 single crochets, so we can see where we did our first double. So we can count over 3 bars here, 1, 2, 3, and this is where our 4th stitch or our next double crochet will be. So there we go, and then there's the first part of that stitch. So now I'm going to go again and make sure I skip that first purple, and then I'm going to do the next 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to do a double crochet 3 rows below. So 1, 2, 3, oops, 1, 2, 3, there's 4. Okay, so I'm going to continue this pattern all the way around, and when I get to the end of the round, I'll come back and show you the next steps. But you can see now, look at that, you can start to see the cobblestone showing up, and you'll notice that this loop, this last double crochet I did, pulls up a little bit, but you can notice that these 2 don't pull up as much anymore. I'll be right back. Okay, I just finished round 5. And you can see here that I've already slip stitched into the last stitch. And so round 5 is actually, or round 6 is exactly the same as round 2, which is chain 3 and skip the stitch you just worked in and double crochet in each stitch around. So I'm going to do those first few here to show you. Just close that here for a second and pull, or take my hook out there for a second and show you. You can see that it's the double crochets all the way across. So once you've done that, you're going to switch to color B, or contrasting color, and you're going to work this rows 3 and 4 the same way we did before, working the back loops in the next row, and then in both loops, and then on row 9, which is the long rows here where we start to make the cobblestone, it's going to change just a little bit. It's going to change because instead of just working the first 2 stitches and then dropping, you're actually going to work the first 3 and then drop. And that gives it that staggered look that the pattern shows in the picture. And then when you get to the end, you're going to be doing rows, let's see, we're going to do rows 3 through 10 for 4 times. And you're not going to change to the contrasting color at the end of row 42. So 42 is your last row before you do the final cleanup, and that is just with the main color. You're just going to single crochet all the way around, and then once you single crochet all the way around and join, you can finally cut both yarns. And you'll notice, I'm going to show you the back side here, when you switch colors, you can see here that right now, because we didn't cut the gray, there's a little yarn here that's leading up, and that's going to be in the inside of your cowl, so you don't have to worry about it. When you change to the purple, then you'll have the purple there, and then it'll switch back to the gray, and you'll just have this little line of color. That doesn't matter. That's the center back of your cowl, and you don't have to cut those. If you're really not wanting to carry the yarn, you can cut and leave a long enough tail to weave in every color change, but I don't recommend that. I recommend just using that yarn and keeping it so that you only have 2 ends at the beginning and 2 ends at the top, and you are completely done. And that's all there is to it for this cowl. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. You can either leave me a comment at the bottom of this video on YouTube, or if you're part of the crochet crew, you can leave me a question in the crew platform, or you can send me an email using the icon at the bottom of my website, KarenWhooley.com. Talk to you next time. Thanks, y'all.